Konnichiwa. Hey guys, yep, it's Mike D57S again, and I am back, and I have just enough time to get to an actual rolling stock review right about now. Yeah, I will make a lot of videos, soon. I just, need some time, but right now, here I am with my first rolling stock review, and what better choice to start off with than Thomas's faithful coaches, Annie and Clarabel. Yep, I'll do these guys first. Yeah, first the coaches, then the trucks or the cars. Well, you know what, since I am from, the U.S., I'll just say, cars. Yeah, it's what I grew up with. I don't mean to be, stereotypical here. Trucks is fine. But anyways, of course, since we have characters, let's just get to the actual opinion. Like, these are, of course, really great characters in the show, and I'm glad they are, because, that we got more rolling stock characters, and, when they were first, I think these were the first female characters in the show that were introduced, and, believe me, I don't know what was going through Reverend Audrey's head when he first created this. Why would he have male engines and female coaches? Hell, that's not the only thing. Why would he also, have, one time in, his Railway Series book, Henry the Green Engine, which was back in the 50s, have the N-word in Henry's sneeze? I'm serious, they actually do have the N-word. I'm not going to say what it is, but... And I was like, what? What was he thinking? Okay, yeah, he changed it, but... And, of course, Mr. Topman is called the Fat Controller, which they changed that because they thought it was offensive. And that's what I'm saying, why would Reverend Audrey have the nerve of having his creations being a little bit of a... Well, here's what I say. Why wouldn't Reverend Audrey have the nerve of having some of his creations just being downright offensive? Hell, and this is another problem I also seem to have with the show, a lot of these characters also seem to be, rude or arrogant, or mischievous. I know, he's trying to emphasize that this is how everything is like in real life, but that's a little too harsh for a children's show, or even a whole franchise of books, with these cute little, trains aimed at children. I know I'm getting off topic, but I'm just saying, that's just, it just makes me wonder, why does Reverend Audrey have to be so offensive in a lot of his works? Alright, so now that I got that out of the way, let's just get back to, topic here. Yeah, and I like, how Thomas is paired up with these two, how they're always very faithful to him, sort of like a mother, mothers or, two aunts or grandmothers to Thomas, And the models of them are nice, and like Thomas, they are also owned by the London, Billington, and South Coast Railway, which, of course, they are the branch line coaches. Yeah, I'm not that bright, with, too much of British railway history. Just, the classes the engines are based off of. I mean, I just, get this from the Thomas Wiki. Oh, and thanks to that site for, the information. However, I'm not liking, of how they're portrayed, in the series. Annie and Clarabel seem to sometimes, I think, be making wisecracks. I mean, sure, they still have their relationship, but ever remember them complaining? And I know I brought this up in my Season 18 review of how I thought Annie and Clarabel were being out of character, when they're criticizing Thomas for his speed, and when, in doubt, they actually don't mind, and just, let Thomas just be useful. Literally, that's not the Annie and Clarabel we once knew, I'm sure of it. Well, aside from that, I think that they're awesome characters, and I even think that Teresa Gallagher does a great job of voicing them in the show as well. Well, Annie's is okay, but I think Clarabel's is better. Alright, so enough of that. Let's just get on with the actual review itself. And I got Clarabel in front, so I'll just, use her as an example. Before that, yeah, my Clarabel has a chip. These were old coaches. When I had a Thomas before this, and the Thomas broke, but these I kept them. And I don't know if, I'll actually buy new ones. Well, maybe I will. And there's a crack in the roof, and this could open. So yeah, don't worry, I'll be careful. I mean, overall, the coaches are nicely done. Like, everything, like, the light brown, and I even like, the font on, their, like, their name fonts. Like, it's just painted beautifully, like, in this cursive. Clarabel, and, of course, the same for Annie as well. And everything else molded on them is nice. Like, they got the doors, the handrails, the windows, everything, and all these, like, nicks and knacks on them. It's just done beautifully. And we even got, these little notches on top. I'm not really sure what they are, but, yeah, I think they have some purpose, but I don't really know. Maybe they were just, oh wait, maybe, I think I have an idea. Maybe they're just bolted into the banister in these guys. Yeah. Oh, and I, have my initials. That was a long time ago, don't ask. Alright, yeah, everything on the coaches looks nicely done. Like, they're molded on nicely, and then we got the back where they got these little ribs. Yeah, sadly, my Clarabel's buffers, they broke. Only the back ones, though. The front ones are okay. And I'll just show you how, the condition that Annie's in right now. Yeah, I think Annie would have to be almost perfect in a sense. Like, there's a few, like, scratches. Like, there's a scratch on her chin, like, if you don't see, and some... Because these couplers broke off, yeah. I've had, these models of Annie and Clarabel for practically a long, long time. Alright. And then we even got, like I said, these little ribs here. They're molded on nicely, and the rest of these bips and bops. There's a nitpick I have with the coaches, but we'll get to them later. And the front windows, nicely done. I really like the way, that the front windows are molded. Like, this clear glass, and, just take the roof off, and the plastic's connected to it just to make it look like that's actual glass. And what could have made it way more interesting is if, that they even had, like, molded, like, seats and stuff, which would give it some realism. But, they don't do that. But, oh well. I mean, it's the outside that really, like, looks good. And, of course, then we even got, the Annie and Clarabel nowadays, of course, with... Well, actually, not nowadays. I mean, how they were back then, when the Thomas merchandise, as far as I know. Yes. I don't really know if these were to tell them apart, but we got, of course, the individual faces for them, yeah. Like, of course, Annie over here has that weird, oh my gosh look, and I gotta be honest, I've even wondered this as a child, why does Annie even have that look, though? It's just strange, like, it just doesn't make any sense, but what is, good is, like, I like the way, their eyes are painted, and, to make it look like they got eyelashes, and their mouths, and there's this line under, which is the chin, and on the sides of their cheeks, and they even got the nose molded on in this, like, variety of browns, and I gotta say, that's done very well. Yeah, so, I don't even know why, back then, they gave Annie the shocked expression, which, like, in the show, that wasn't always the case. It doesn't make any sense. However, Clarabel's is my favorite, and this is why I picked her, because I like her face. It's just, the normal faces that the coaches would have. And I've seen, on the CGI wooden models, even though I'm not going for that, but I've seen it in YouTubers' videos that they do have identical faces, and that's what I like, and it just doesn't make any sense why they couldn't do them, because, oh, excuse me. I mean, for crying out loud, we got their names to tell them apart. Isn't that not good enough? I mean, Bill and Ben and Donald and Douglas, even though I don't mind it at all, because granted, you can't even tell them apart anyway, but still, just not. Alright, and now, here, of course, is the only nitpick I have with the coaches. The wheels are molded on nicely, and so are the brake shoes, but the nitpick about this is that their undercarriage, or if you could say that, or the board under them, where the wheels are, or the truck, whatever, is painted gray, and in the show, it was black. And, of course, you could just take apart the model and, paint it black. And that's not the only thing. Like if on both of the coaches, that there is, of course, this little, area, the spring wheels, as far as I heard they're called. Yeah, the spring wheels are supposed to be red, just like the engines, but, well, apparently they're black as well. And I don't remember on the early 2000s promo picture of Annie and Clarabel if that was the case. Oh, excuse me, I just gotta... Alright, guys, I'm back. Okay, yeah, so, I mean, you could just take this apart and, paint the undercarriage black and the, the spring wheel on the buffers red. Oh, well. Oh, and yes, I know what you guys are going to tell me. As much as I'm waiting for Bachmann to just hurry up with Ari and Bert and get it over with, so that way they can make Bachmann, Oliver, and Boko, there is one, or actually two items that, of course, are being, released soon enough. And that is the red coaches. Yeah, those red branch line coaches are finally being made. Because apparently we've been requesting these for practically quite a while. The reason? Because, of course, they're based off of the exact same prototype as Annie and Clarabel. And I have absolutely no idea at all of, why they didn't just, make them just yet. But, yes, they could have, just made them easily. And, granted, I think those red coaches, I think the red coaches are just fascinating. Like, they really are. Like, the branch line coaches, which are based off of what Annie and Clarabel are, they're just, they're beautiful. Like, in red or orange. And I've seen, pictures on, the Thomas Wiki in some magazine or whatever that they were multicolored. I always wondered, but I'm just glad, that they're staying red. And I even love it when the other engines are always pulling them, too. Like, any, engine on, the main line, or Duck's branch line, or Edwards, and I don't know if Thomas's was, but, whatever. I mean, it'll be, it's just awesome. Like, it's just going to be great now that we're finally going to be getting these. Both this and a brake coach. Yeah, and I will definitely intend to buy them. And back then, of course, a lot of people would buy, any random models of these two, whether it be either Annie or Clarabel, and just repaint them, red, or maybe even sand down the name to make them look like, the generic branch line coaches in the show. So, yeah, that's Annie and Clarabel in the whole. Yep. And, yes, let's just hope, that the Bachmann, Ari, and Bert, and as well as the red branch line coaches, oh, and, of course, other, Bachmann products, that are being released, will be out soon. Yeah. And I've seen Troublesome Truck number 4. Let me just bring this up. I just, felt like it. I've seen Troublesome Truck number 4, and I, well, am not really fond of it, and I don't know if I'm going to buy it. Okay, yeah, I kind of spoiled that for, a review I'll do on the Troublesome Trucks. Alright. Well, anyways, that's Annie and Clarabel. I will be giving them a 9.5 out of 10. The only way that they'll get a full 10 is if, their undercarriage was black and the spring wheels are, red. Oh, well, you just don't know how far things will get, if I'm saying that right, but, oh, well, you win some, you lose some. I mean, at least, other users are doing that. I mean, of course, when the red branch line coaches will finally come out, their undercarriages will finally be black. I mean, I'm just so excited, to have, each engine pulling them. Alright. So that's Annie and Clarabel, and stay tuned for my review on Toby's coach, Henrietta. Yeah. Oh, and just something else. They look nice when, Thomas, is pulling them and all. just to get that whole, Thomas the Tank Engine feeling of, him working on his branch line. Yeah. Alright, so that's it. Stay tuned for Henrietta. Adios.